Welcome back to Hospitality Folks. I'm your host, Alicia Dick Wahlberg. What actually makes a hotel unforgettable? Not the thread count, not the spa menu. It's the story. And most hotels are sitting on an extraordinary one they have no idea how to tell. My guest today has built one of Scandinavia's most respected hotel PR agencies by doing exactly this, translating hotels with soul into stories that land in the right markets with the right people. If you're in the Nordic or German hospitality area, this one's for you.
It's great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Regitze, and I'm the founder of Rose PR Agency, which is one of the leading hotel PR agencies in Scandinavia. So I do a lot of hotel work, positioning hotels in the Nordics and doing PR for them as well. And we kind of gravitate towards kind of experience-led remote hotels, wellness-based hotels. So kind of the hotels of tomorrow, visionary hotels with great stories to share. That's what I'm all about.
When I first came across you on LinkedIn, I was stunned with the hotels that you worked with. It feels so natural, luxury, homey feeling almost, the type of hotels that you work with. Now, I also, when I went through your background, I saw you have a very special background. Maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you went from hospitality to storytelling.
Yeah. Well, for me, you can't really say hospitality without saying storytelling. I think it's kind of the same thing. And there is no other industry in the world, in my mind, that's so full of stories. And also kind of the hidden stories. Most hotels are not really leveraging that. And I definitely saw a great match to combine both. Super creative as a person. I've always been writing, drawing, painting, doing stuff. And so for me, it was kind of a natural way to combine the two, my love for creative endeavors and my love for hotels and hospitality. And I kind of paved my own way. So this is definitely not like a copy paste road that I took. It was a very bumpy road. I tried a lot of different things, but I landed on the path that I'm supposed to be on. But it took quite a few years to get here.
Now, I'm curious, what were some of the bumpiest paths and how do they actually help you now as you have your own agency?
You know what? I think I've been self-employed since I was 24 years old. And you don't know yourself when you're 24 years old. When you start a business then, it has to change. Life is lived in chapters and life is kind of fluid. You have to go with it and you have to go through different phases. And as you change, so does your company. So I think you kind of learn a lot by just doing stuff and jumping right into it. And I think one of the most significant things about me is probably that I'm super brave. Lots of things I don't know how to do, but I'm really brave. And I'm always jumping right into new things to try them out. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Just get up, try one more time. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I think experience is definitely the most valuable currency you can have. And I think we live in a culture, unfortunately, where many young people are afraid of failing, afraid of trying out things because they don't want to fail. They want to be perfect, also backed up by social media and all that. But I would never have been here and run a successful business today if I didn't fail so much as I did. I went in and out of educations, universities, couldn't find my path. I needed to get to know myself, who am I as a person, as a woman, as a mother? And life sort of threw me quite a lot of curveballs. I was forced to kind of, go into self-development as well, look into myself. Who am I really? What do I really enjoy doing? And then kind of mold my career around that. So definitely failing a lot has brought me to where I am today, for sure.
I absolutely love this story. So the more I'm talking with people with hospitality folks or in general about their careers, one of the biggest aspects is just being brave enough to try.
Yeah.
And I think that is so underutilized. And especially as a woman, we are
Yeah.
taught to be perfectionist.
Yes. And it's really it's difficult because I'm really a perfectionist myself, right? Either you do something or you don't, you do it well or you don't do it at all. That's kind of my mindset. But being raised as a woman in this world and you want to do everything perfect, you want to be a great mother, great friend, great partner, great businesswoman if you're running your own business as well. It's difficult. I think you have to realize that perfection is an illusion. You can't do anything perfect. It's an illusion. And who created that? So be kind to yourself in the process and know that experience and failure are kind of the same two things. For me, there is no failure. There is experience. And when you think like that, I think you can never really lose. You can just go forward and push yourself.
100%. You can only fail if you don't try.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's very important. Yeah.
Now, talking about personal growth, what is the most common mistake people are making when it comes to personal branding?
Wow. I think there are two things. The first thing is that you copy other people, like, because many people don't know themselves on a deeper level and they think I just have to do what the neighbor is doing and then it's great, but it's not, because personal branding, it's in the wording, it's personal. You don't have to be private, but you have to be personal and base your branding and your business around your persona, around your values, around what you contribute with to this world. And this takes some practice, right? Because it could be quite a daunting task to go out into this world and in the sea of sameness that we're living in, I think, and say, this is me, this is my voice, this is what I do, sorry, and you either take it or you don't. But you can't appeal to everyone. I think that's really scary to many people, that you have to really stand strong in yourself. The other thing is that most people I meet think that personal branding is about visibility. So they think it's about being constantly present, constantly delivering content, constantly being out there. But personal branding is actually more about perception. It's about, I think, what people associate with you when you're not in the room. So what are people telling about you and your business when you're not there? That's personal branding. And I think that's a change of mindset that people have to understand in terms of branding yourself and your business.
So how would someone really make sure that they become known for this one specific thing? How did they figure out what that one thing is? And how did they make that visible?
I think it's an organic process. It doesn't come overnight. For me, it took roughly 10, 12 years to get where I am today, because I was confused. And then I went this way and then I went the other way. I think persistence is really important. You have to stick with it. You just have to be open to fail and be open to go through hardships. You can't create something incredible, something memorable, something spectacular by being like everyone else and doing the same thing as everyone else. You are bound to fail at some point, and you're bound to go through something incredibly hard that makes you question, why am I doing this? But I think in my case, persistence took me very far. I kept doing what I love, and I stayed in this industry because I love this industry so much, and I'm happy I did. At some point, I thought I would going to make jewelry. So I was like making bracelets and whatever. And I was also painting at some point. Great, whatever it takes to heal yourself and go through difficult periods. I'm all about it. But in the end, you have to stick with it and be patient, dedicated and patient.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's super important. It is.
I can relate so much to this personally. So I left the US. I left hospitality and travel industry because I was burnt out at that point, working 80 hours nonstop, no sleeping. And I came to Germany as an American and I felt so lost. I didn't know who I was at that point. I was in a sea of people wearing only black and I was wearing pink.
Yeah. Wow.
Started making jewelry during school life.
Oh my God.
And it took a while to kind of come back up from that, but it was about trying it out and figuring out along the way who I wanted to be to make myself happy.
Exactly. And it's a process. You can't expect miracles overnight, right? You just have to stay true to yourself and your own values. And if you have a voice inside that says, really, I want to do this, I really want to do this. So you have to stick with it, even though the world is saying something else. And I think that was also really a big one for me, learning not to listen to other people, because then I would never have been where I am today. Right.
Yeah.
It can be lonely sometimes to have a vision. You're the only one who sees that vision, but it feels incredible when you win, and you have to remember to celebrate your wins and the small wins as well.
Yeah. And know that you're not alone. I've been recently in a lot of groups with other female founders who are just starting out or have been in a while. And one of the main things everyone keeps saying is this feeling of loneliness.
True. It's true. And it's uncomfortable, but that takes me back to the The things I said about being uncomfortable before. Most people don't want to be uncomfortable. Most people want it easy, right? But being a founder is incredibly uncomfortable very often, right? Doing your own thing can be incredibly lonely, but you can learn to embrace that loneliness and kind of take care of it instead of pushing it away. And that was some of the hard work for me, but it's worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, another area I wanted to talk to you about is you have a very specific niche that is similar to mine, but is not necessarily what I would call normal in a lot of people's eyes. You focus on the Nordics and then also DACH region. Can you talk me through about why those two regions?
Yeah. I can. I can. Many people ask me about that. I mean, first of all, yeah, at Rose PR, we focus on the Nordics, which is Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland, Iceland, but and Germany as well. So not the whole DACH region. I just chose Germany because it's sort of my second home. I've been living there, speak German, and where I live in Denmark, it's a quick drive to Germany, and the countries are quite close, like linked together. So for me, it was an obvious choice to kind of combine those two markets or regions. We have a lot in common. We also have a lot, many differences between us. But the Nordics, it's a region that, I am from the Nordics. I'm part Norwegian, part Danish. I can't run away from that. I don't want to. It's an amazing place and there's so many stories and so many opportunities. So for me, it was natural to focus on the Nordics and then add on Germany, as I said, because I love Germany. I'm there often. I speak the language. So it's actually not rocket science. I think those two markets go hand in hand for many of our clients who are looking for stronger positioning and quality PR, right?
Now, you were talking about the similarities and differences. What are some of those similarities and differences?
Hmm. I think like it's different. If you take Finland, for example, is also very different than Denmark, even though we're both Scandinavian countries. But of course, you have like difference in mindsets. You have a different approach to work, to personal matters, huge like linguistic differences. I enjoy working with German hotels because usually there's a very straightforward process and you know what you have to do. Things are not moving so fast in Germany as they are in the Nordic countries. So, for example, Denmark and Sweden are super digital. Everything is digitalized and very green. And that really does come with both pros and cons, in my opinion. Whereas Germany is a little slower in that development, but it's a super strong market in terms of hospitality, investments. So I kind of like to balance both markets because they offer something unique, each of them. And they both feel like home to me. So it's kind of my playground. I really love it. And our thing at Rose PR is that we work with European hotels and retreats and hospitality brands who would really like to gain stronger foothold in the Nordics, but also in Germany if they want to. We can kind of combine, right? So for me, if you ask me, it's a perfect package.
I really enjoy the mixture of Germany and I've been working a lot with Sweden lately. So I
Yeah,
can
nice.
completely agree with the combination.
It's
It's a great
wonderful.
balance.
Yes, I think it is. Yeah.
Now, what is something that you wish that hoteliers would know when they contact you about the process before coming to work with you? What would make something easier for both sides?
That's a good question. Well, my job is to kind of educate them a little bit in terms of PR, communication, storytelling. But if they're completely oblivious and they have no clue about how PR works, it can be a little bit uphill because PR, for example, is a kind of a delicate process. You shouldn't have to convince someone that it's worth it. So if they come in with a closed mindset and they're like, I'm not sure this is worth it, it's hard, right? So it would be great if people understood the world of PR a little bit. Most of my like all my clients do, but I often talk to people who don't really get it and they think it's a quick win and we can gain massive results in 3 or 4 weeks. That's not how PR works, right? With our positioning work, it's a little bit different. When we position our clients in the Nordics, it's about scouting the market and creating like market reports and how does it work here and where would your specific brand fit into this market, kind of attuning the story, like the storytelling for a property to fit the Nordic voice and market, right? So those are two kind of different things, positioning and PR. We do both. But yeah, generally I see a lot of misconceptions around PR. what is it exactly? How does it work? Is it worth it? Of course, it's worth it, but I don't want to spend 2 hours persuading someone to do it. So, yeah, that could be one of the things.
Would you be open to maybe sharing one of your favorite examples of a partner that you've worked with?
Well, that's easy for me, I
Okay.
think, because I could highlight Ytri Island Retreat, which is a wonderful, wonderful client of Rose PR. It's Norway's most remote hotel. And trust me, it is really remote. It took me like 15 hours to get there from Copenhagen. And I was like, wow, I could have been in Tokyo at this time. But that's part of the trend that we're seeing. It's part of the journey. It's located at the edge of the polar circle, and it's absolutely amazing. You go there on this remote island, secluded islands, right? And you check in and you completely check out of this world. So being involved with this brand and doing the PR and storytelling for this brand for a year now, um, has been such an eye opener for me, also in terms of culture and, the Nordic market in general. We have so much to offer. And there's so much diversity as well. I've really enjoyed working with Utri, and I'm so happy that we will continue working with them for the rest of the year at least. This is a very special project because it really taps into all the things that I find important and that I find appealing about my work: connection, community, care, embedded into a hospitality project. So it's not just a hotel or retreat, it's so much more. It's really the future of hospitality. So, yeah.
I've seen the photos. They're stunning. Every time you post something about them on LinkedIn, I'm like, oh, I just want to be there.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. That you should feel that, right? And that's emotional storytelling and hospitality. You should engage with a brand and you should be able to feel it inside and already be there just by engaging with the content. So that's what we do as well. I'm glad it resonates with you. Job is
Yeah.
done.
Now, one of my final questions I have is when someone comes to you and they say, hey, we want to move into the Nordic markets, what is some of that prep work you prepare them for?
Again, it really depends if a client is in Italy or in Norway or in Austria or somewhere else. You have to understand where they're coming from and the culture they're in. And then you have to kind of subtly translate that and make them understand, how do you succeed with your brand in the Nordics? What should you do? It's about tone of voice, it's about the branding, it's about placing them in the right media, telling the right stories, engaging the right journalists. You know, the Nordics is a special market. If you want to succeed with a new hotel or a new retreat, you have to be open to settle and kind of engage with that culture instead of copy pasting it. I've seen many hotels coming from, for example, the DACH region, like Switzerland or Spain or something, and they think they can just copy paste a successful concept from their country into the Nordics, but that doesn't work. So you have to understand the cultural nuances, right? And the language. And that's what I find interesting about my work as well, that, the communication between cultures, this whole process of translating a concept from one culture to another. I find that very enriching.
As someone who loves talking about culture, I completely understand. That's also something I've seen in other areas, not just in hospitality, but whether
Yeah.
in tech or even manufacturing,
Mm.
companies coming into new countries and just copy paste and wondering why it's not working with the
Exactly.
locals.
Doesn't work like that. We are
No.
different. People are different. Our languages, our habits, our mindsets are different. So I think that's also something that more and more brands are opening their eyes to, that, cultural translation, you have to adapt. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, my dad, he actually ended up working in Mexico for a while as a middle-aged white American from the Midwest, thrown
Nice.
into Mexico to run this giant plant. And he realized very quickly on certain days there was these giant soccer tournaments like there was no way he was going to get anyone in. So instead of fighting them, he ordered in food, brought in TVs,
Great.
let them come in and watch there so they could at least still do a couple hours like before after.
Your dad is a very clever man. I love that.
It's all about, and I love this example because I think you can take this to anywhere you go to understand the local culture, what
Yes.
is important for them, and adapt to it.
Absolutely. It is really more and more about local communities as we move forward in hospitality. Just, people travel as well to meet the locals now. They travel to actually engage in the local culture, which is also tapping into the whole wellness trend. So it's always about people in the end, and it always will be in hospitality.
Absolutely. So everyone thinks I'm insane. Whenever we travel, I love going to local grocery stores.
Yeah, I know.
Getting to see, like, okay, what are the local people eating? Interacting with locals, because a lot of tourists don't go into the grocery stores.
I know. That's a good way to learn a thing or two. Yeah, for sure.
And it's a safe way. Not a lot of people are going to interact with you, but it's
Yeah.
still, if you observe, you can start to get a feel of what it's like to actually live in this community.
Yeah, exactly. Luckily, we see more and more of that. It's becoming more and more popular not to exclude yourself from the local population when you travel, but to seek them, learn from them. And it's a wonderful trend that's not only going to be a trend, hopefully, but something that will last for a long time.
I hope so. Let's make this movement go. Well, thank you so much for joining Hospitality, folks. It has been such a pleasure. Now, if anyone is looking to reach out to you, where can they find you?
So we're, of course, on Instagram, Rose PR Agency. I'm on LinkedIn, both with my agency and my personal profile. Very easy to find. Yeah, we have a website. I guess that's it, right?
Yeah, and we'll put everything in the description to make it very easy.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's Hospitality, folks. If this episode shifted something in you, send it to a hotelier or brand leader in your network who keeps saying their property is great, but no one seems to know about it yet. That's exactly who needs to hear this first. You can find Rose PR Agency through the links in the description. See you next week.